Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So as you can see from the title today, we're going to be continuing our discussion with rational expressions, except today we're going to be talking about multiplying / dividing rational expressions. Pretty simple. Main difference is multiplying and division, but we've seen this before with multiplying and division because it's really just the multiplying and division of fractions. Let's jump right to it. Let's see what a problem actually looks like. So this is a multiplying problem. They'll be mixed in, multiplying, division. We ask you to do a couple of them. Okay, so with our multiplying and division, we're starting with x to the fourth plus 8x to the third. All right. That is over 8x. Then we have multiplication. And then we have x squared minus 9 over x squared plus 11x plus 24. Okay, so the very first step that we want to take is we want to factor everything. Now what's gonna start to get you here is that we have to figure out how each piece factors. Okay, that's going to be part of how this works. Okay, bear with me for 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to factor everything now that we're set up, and we're going to make sure that everything is the way it needs to be. So we're first looking at the x to the fourth plus 8x to the third. For that, I'm going to see, we've been doing factoring for a while now. There's a plus sign in between. Best I could do is GCF, and the GCF there is going to be x to the third. That's going to leave me with an x plus 8. The bottom 8x, there is no way to factor that. Top right, x squared minus 9, that is going to be x minus 3, x plus 3. Now, if any of the factoring is getting you, go back, watch some of our factoring videos, go back to the Delta Math. You can actually go back and practice some of these factoring assignments. I want to be clear here for a second that what we're showing you is not the factoring, so that's why we're going through the factoring pretty quickly. The part that we're really stressing on, the part that we're really trying to spend time on here is the multiplying and dividing of rational expressions. Factoring is just part of that. So for the bottom right, we have x squared plus 11x plus 24. So this is where we need two numbers that multiply to 24, add to 11. And those numbers are going to be 8 and 3. We're going to get x plus 8, x plus 3. If you need to use the calculator to factor that, please go ahead, use the AC method on the calculator to factor that. Okay, now the next part is if it's multiplication, you can cross out top, bottom, meaning if something appears on both the top and the bottom, you can cross it out, or diagonally. You cannot cross out side to side. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is there's an x plus 8 on the top and there's an x plus 8 on the bottom. Even though they're in different fractions, we're doing multiplication, so it's okay to cross those out. There's an x plus 3 on the top, there's an x plus 3 on the bottom, so I can cross those out. Okay, now this is where it gets a little more tricky, not really, but there's an x on the bottom, and I'm going to cross out one of the x's on the top. So what does that leave me with? That leaves me with x squared, x minus 3, all over 8. So let's see how we plug that into Delta Math. Okay, so when you're doing this, you want to use parentheses. So x squared, then we're going to have x minus 3. Now you might say, well, why are you using those parentheses? Because why am I using the parentheses? When I hit that division key with the parentheses, that's what's going to give me a fraction. And there I go, I've got the correct answer. Okay, so I'm going to skip here. I want to find a division problem to show you next. So 7x to the third over x squared plus x minus 30 x squared minus 6x and x squared minus 36. Okay, so we're going to stop for a second and we're going to consider 1/2 divided by 3/4. Okay, when you're doing 1/2 divided by 3/4, you're dividing fractions. How do we divide fractions? We divide fractions using the keep, change, flip. Okay, so what does that mean? It means keep the first fraction as 1/2. We change the division sign to multiplication. We just showed you how to solve any multiplication problem. Now we're showing you how to do this with division. Division is just turning it into a multiplication problem. So we change it to multiplication and then we flip the second fraction. Now I end up with 4/6, which simplifies to 2/3, right? I'm just multiplying across the top. That's if there were numbers. Okay, but we're looking at it now as if there are a division sign. So we're going to keep, okay, the 7x to the third over x squared plus x minus 30. We're going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and then we're going to flip the second fraction. So it's x squared minus 36 over x squared minus 6x. Okay, once we've done that, now it's going to be the exact same. Factor everything, cross out top, bottom, or diagonally. Okay, so let's go ahead and factor. So when I go to factor here, 7x to the third cannot be factored, but x squared plus x minus 30 factors to x plus 6, x minus 5. And again, if you're having issues with the factoring there, go back to any of our factoring videos, okay? We have tons of videos on different methods of factoring. X squared minus 36, which is now on top, that's difference of two squares. So I'm going to get x minus 6, x plus 6. And then on the bottom, I've got x squared minus 6x. That's going to be a GCF. I'll take out an x, and I'm left with an x minus 6. Okay, so now it's time to cross out. Starting, do I see anything on top and bottom? I see an x plus 6 and an x plus 6. I see an x minus 6 and an x minus 6. I see an x. I see x to the third. So remember, I cross out that power. It now becomes an x squared. So what am I left with? On top, I've got 7x squared. On the bottom, I have x minus 5. Okay, and that's what I'm going to be putting in. So again, though, I need to use parentheses on the top. And I know you're saying, why am I using those parentheses? But the parentheses are going to allow me to put a fraction in. There we go. Okay, so division, multiplication, same thing. The division just requires us to put it into a multiplication problem. So for a division problem, we want to transform it into a multiplication problem. Okay, we want to turn that into a multiplication problem. And there we go. That's how we solve multiplying and dividing rational expressions level 1. Hope you liked the video. I will see you on the next one. We're going to do level 2. We'll do level 3. And then after that, we take a rational expressions quiz. And that's really our year. That's going to really take us to the end of the year. So we're getting pretty close to kind of getting to that end of the year. So just be ready for that.